We're happy to be introducing Tom Harper of Avidyne today. Tom, you and I have been doing this off and on for quite a few years.
Quite a few.
But Avidyne is certainly on the march in some interesting areas. A couple of years ago, citation who, what?
Yep.
Now all of a sudden you guys are all over the place.
Yep.
Tell me what's the latest and greatest at Avidyne.
Well, we've had, again, a challenging last 12, 14 months, and managed to come through that in shining colors. We've spent a lot of time innovating, developing new products, certifying new products. So we've, at the AEA here this show, we've announced our Skytrax 200, which is a new dual band ADS-B receiver that will work well with all of our IFD products. We've certified Atlas, which we had previously announced, so we got a TSO and STC in a Citation 560. We've got TSO on our Helios, which is our helicopter flight management system. Mm-hmm. And we've added an interactive install manual for our dealers, which is a really innovative new tool for troubleshooting. And we've really seen a dramatic improvement in, or a reduction in the number of dealer calls to our product support team, because they're able to use the interactive install manual and watch these little short video snippets and get the information they need 24/7. They might be out at the airplane on a Friday night or over the weekend. So that's been really helpful. And we've also done an Avidyne Academy, which is a 10-module training syllabus that the dealers can do online. So we've been very busy. At the show, we're also showing our 10.3 software, which is the next release that's nearing certification.
Well, I'll tell you what, you didn't let the last year slide by, that's
Not
for
at
sure. In terms of your position in the industry, it's been interesting watching kind of juggling for primacy a little bit, and Avidyne is certainly coming back strong from the worst of the pandemic and all, but where do you see your positioning for the future? What areas are you most interested in, and more important, what areas seem most interested in you?
Well, I'll say we've got a lot of growth into Part 25. Mm-hmm. Helicopters is a big opportunity. A lot of the fleets and military opportunities that go along with that. The IFD is strong as ever in the aftermarket. Mm-hmm. And again, we're adding new features with our software releases, and we're not charging for those software releases. Those are coming along, so folks that bought the 540 5 years ago have seen the addition of synthetic vision, wireless capability, and now we're adding visual approaches and en route VNAV and things like that. So they're getting a lot of value from Avidyne, and that's kind of where we're moving and adding new products to the product line and continuing to grow. So you'll see a lot more of that as we move forward.
The Avidyne position on GA as it stands right now, where is your greatest interest? And I know where you've come from and how competitive certain aspects of that have been, but what can we see in that regard, especially with the 500 series really giving who a run for their money?
Yeah, it's for a long time there was only really one player in the GPS world, and now there are two. There are two options, and the reason there's only two is because it's really difficult. Yeah. To make an IFR quality GPS FMS, and we've done really well in that market. We've carved a niche. What you've
done really well is just the interface.
Yeah, and the fact that,
with all due respect to everything else out there, what is used and usable are two different things.
Yes.
And this is where the 500 series just really knocked it out of the park.
And we took a lot of what we learned with the development of R9, and the Integra R9 integrated flight deck was built around how can we make it easier to use? What can we do to make it easier for the pilot? Maybe if you haven't flown in 30 days, you're not reaching for the manual every time you want to try a new operation. Oh. It's intuitive.
Thank God for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So that we migrated all that usability into the IFD series, and now we've continued to add new features. So that's always been our focus. And we've got a huge installed base of the Integra 1 Cirruses, Pipers, Lancers, a really good installed base. And now a lot of those folks that may have had the older navigators are moving into the new IFDs. So there's a community there, plus the full aftermarket.
Well, jumping from there to business jets and so forth, how difficult has it been to get your toe in there, because that's where there's multiple competitors who have been there since God wore sneakers.
Yes.
And frankly, somebody new comes along and they kind of look at you and go, who the heck are you?
Yeah.
I mean, why should we listen to you? Why should we do anything?
Right.
And that you came out of the park pretty strong.
Yeah. And the way we did that is we found a niche. And the Atlas is really designed to meet a need that's not currently being met in the market. There's a lot of the Part 25 jets. Of course, the newer ones are all fully integrated flight decks. Some of the aging flight decks are the federated, but they're big glass. But they don't, in many cases, have a path to WAS or to ADS-B without a lot of surgery and a lot of big dollars. So we thought, well, what if we can take the IFD technology, put that into Part 25, and do some of the conversion, if you will, to talk to these legacy flight decks without having to spend 6 figures on upgrading the flight deck or more.
Yep.
And now we can pop those in place and have a fully WAS ADS-B solution to extend the life of these Part 25 airplanes for another 10 to 20 years.
And the operators are thrilled, believe me, because airplanes and replacement airframes are not getting any cheaper.
Right.
Not going to happen. Tell me about the helicopter market. As a helicopter pilot, as somebody who's worked in the industry, the demands in that industry are unique.
Yep.
They're tough. They do not back down.
Right.
I mean, real simple. You meet a standard or you don't do business.
Yep.
How did you educate yourself in that market? And more important, what is the feedback you're getting teaching you about where the helicopter and vertical industry is going?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of opportunity there, certainly. Things we had to learn, of course, there's, radar altitude mandates in the EMS world. So we're adding a radar altitude display to the IFDs in this new release. We've added power line databases to our database, to our displays.
Oh,
so for
thank you, Lord.
Low, yeah, right.
Or Dan.
Yeah. So that 3 arc second terrain data versus the standard 9 arc second, so it's much higher resolution terrain. Again, really helpful at low altitudes. At Heli Expo a year ago, right before the pandemic, we heard from some of the firefighting community that they wanted the zoom on the map range to go down to a half mile because they want to be able to put waypoints out where the fires are, and some of them are really close, so this gives them the ability to do that. So we've really listened and tried to plug those kind of features right into the product and turn it quickly. So it's the helicopter market is very interesting to us, and we've done a lot of things to address their needs.
If I'm not speaking out of turn, your experience in vertical lift has to be weighing on your mind as you watch the autonomous industry build. Yeah. UAM is out of control. It's exploding. Yeah. And granted, 90% of it is hot air and bleed air, as the case may be. But you have to be looking at this with great interest, and especially with the technology you're developing,
right?
Because the transfer on this could be huge.
That's right, and it's not just unmanned; it's eVTOL, right?
Yeah.
There's there's a lot of opportunities.
Which might as well be unmanned the way they're going to set up the automation.
Automation is a huge part of it, and we're very plugged into that. There's literally hundreds of these grassroots companies popping up, and the VC money's pouring in to see if we can make some of those happen. And usually, as we know what happens, 2 or 3 or 4 of them might survive, maybe 2 even, but
that's all it's going to take.
That's all it's going to take, and it's going to set a new trend. So we're very plugged into that with some of the products that we're developing for display technology, for safety sensor technology, to help that come to fruition.
Outstanding. I've been asking the folks who are up here before, and I'm going to be asking everybody here today, how did Avidyne get through this past year? And more important, what lessons have you learned that will be affecting how you do business in this community and throughout the aviation world from here on out?
Yeah, well, we were all taken by surprise by it, and I have to say, as a management team, the leadership was very proactive in giving people time off when they needed it. If you thought you were feeling sick, stay home. We really invested in remote access technology, so the Zoom and GoToMeeting and that sort of thing, so people could work remotely that could. Those that were in the factory, we split the shifts so that we could spread people out. There was at one point during mid-year last year where we built some inventory up and closed the factory, what we scheduled for 4 weeks. But the demand was surprisingly there that we had to pull people back in after 2 weeks. So we were pleasantly surprised, and we attribute some of that to the fact that people couldn't go anywhere in their airplanes. Everything was closed. So people decided to put their airplanes down and go ahead and do some of that work that they had been putting off.
Oh, the shops were
very busy.
In places. They really were.
So
it was amazing.
Obviously the tough part of it is those shops that had to downsize, now they're feeling the pain of having to recover that labor. The labor pool is dispersed, and so that's been a challenge as we move back into the post-COVID world. But Avidyne did a great job navigating through that. We never had to lay anybody off. We had a temporary furlough, and now everybody's back to work, and we've kept busy and we've kept innovating. And we also opened our new hangar facility out at Melbourne Airport in Florida, so that we're doing.
Where they've got a little bit more space to.
A little more elbow room.
Yeah.
So it's been great.
My goodness, I'll be darned. All righty. Well, ultimately, with Oshkosh barely a month off, which is expected to be a barn burner. I mean, they're all talking about record advanced ticket sales. I can tell you from our consults with Sun and Fun, they had a number of records set, especially Saturday. We're hoping that Oshkosh and AUVSI thereafter set records again and give the industry the jump start it needs to be able to look forward, feel confident in looking forward, and get on with the business of getting people from point A to point B, getting cargo from point A to point B, and moving this country.
That's right.
So obviously you guys will be a part of it. As a past happy customer with the R9 system in my airplane that shall remain nameless, and the fact that that was just one of the most adaptive systems I've ever flown, because I'd have to make a Miami run, do something, and they would switch approaches on you at the last moment. In Brand G, that's all kinds of steps and twists and this and that. And R9, sure, no problem, bring it on, buddy. Want to do it again?
Right.
It was fun. And you did marvelous work on that. It was inspired.
And all of that's migrated to our current IFDs. So
it's all about the you got to have the capabilities, yes, but it's about the interface.
Yes, it really
Make it
is.
easy, make it workable. You guys do good in that regard.
Yeah, thank you.
Tom, thanks so much for everything.
Pleasure.
Aero-News Network's coverage of the 64th Annual AEA International Convention and Trade Show, live from Dallas, Texas, is brought to you in part by the following sponsors.